Alright, hello everyone. I got going on a late start on this, but that's okay. So the following is for research purposes, and what the research is about is the tribe of Dan and Sparta. Um, were they the same? Well, let's investigate. Alrighty, here we go. Okay, I got my cup of joe. Okay, so an adopted tribe. So Dan as a tribe um, is unique in a way. This thing is talking about, as Stagger notes, in biblical tradition, there are important differences between Dan and the other tribes of Israel. Unlike most of the other tribes, Dan was said to have been allotted by Joshua a large strip of land on the coastline in and around the and it gives Joshua 19:40 through 48, in and around the Philistine territory. Likewise, um, they had a strategic location on the coast, but they are said to have seafaring ships of their own, which they make around the 12th century. And that has kind of like confused biblical scholars. So it talks about the Song of Deborah would lead one to believe that the ancient Israelites were familiar with seafaring, and yet there are no other references to the Danite profession. And soon after, during the narrative of Solomon's reign, it is reported that the Israelites have little to no understanding of seafaring or boats. Okay, so you see how things aren't making sense right there. Because this is something that's going to pop up a lot in this research. It's just going to talk about how the tribe of Dan was kind of like maybe the pirates of the Mediterranean, you could say. Okay, so continuing down. Okay, so the tribe of Dan doesn't have an extensive genealogy. It says, and especially, and it highlights this right here, Genesis 46.23 and Numbers 26.42. In fact, they do not have much of any at all. When Genesis recounts the legendary descendants of each tribe, Dan comes up as the shortest of all the tribes with only one descendant. That is exceptionally odd and indicates that the Danites had trouble remembering or justifying their connections to Israel's past. Scholars have noted scholars have noted some references in Judges indicate that the Danites were a semi-nomadic tribe, or a semi-nomadic tribe, before their migration north. And this is something that's been coming up a lot in my research too. But hold on, I'm reading. And Dan is also a product of mixed marriages. The Levites 4:10 through 11. And it says a tradition that appears to have continued during the Bronze Age as evidenced by the stories of Samson and Solomon. And there you go. You got those references right there. Okay. Okay, and we're also going to be, especially in the next one, we're going to be getting into a lot of the stuff about Samson. Okay? So it says, it does not appear that the Danites held any special relation to the rest of Israel. The stories of Samson as a judge of Israel actually only detail stories that affect the Danites and never relate details regarding the other 11 tribes. So, a reading in that would mean that would be an assumption that he was just merely a judge of his own tribe. In fact, Yaden notes the fact that Samson and his family maintained close ties with the Philistines alone. These and other reasons have led to a number of scholars to suggest that the loose and odd associations between the larger body of Israel and Dan are due to the fact that the Danites were possibly not originally Israelite at all in their origin. Okay. Okay, and some have pointed to Genesis 49:16 as an indication that Dan originally began as a non-Israelite people. The text reports that Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Interesting. Different explanations have been offered for the text, explaining it as a prophecy regarding Samson. We actually kind of get into that in the next one, but we'll save that for the next time. I mean, not like I don't think this goes into it like this one. I'm talking about a different text that we'll be reading. The basis of it is this prophecy of Samson. Basically means that the tribe of Dan is where the Antichrist will come from. But like I said, we'll get into that probably later, because I don't think I'm going to be able to finish all of this today. So going down. Okay, so Yaden rejects these theories and instead argues that the straightforward meaning of the verse appears rather to signify some kind of amphitonic council admitting the tribe of Dan into the covenant of the tribes of Israel. Then the next text Yaden argues indicates that Dan will be allowed to judge his people as one of the tribes precisely because Dan would appear to have been outside the covenant. Okay, and there's also things about how the tribe of Dan didn't initially worship Yahweh or hints about it. In Judges 18, when Dan migrates northward, it tells a story of how they acquire a priest descended from Moses. Although the priest is said to have many idols or gods, it is possible to assume that the priest was a henotheist who worshipped Yahweh. Okay, so this adoption basically symbolized the adoption of Yahwehism itself and would provide further evidence that the tribe was not originally of Israelite origin. At the very least, there is some hint of certain change that came about in the religion and the worship of the tribe of Dan. Margolith is more explicit when he writes that the texts indicate that before the incident with Mackay, they did not worship Yahweh. Interesting. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Where are we on time? Okay, it's been 10 minutes. Let's look at how long 4 is. 4 is quite long. So I think I'm going to stop there today. Because I didn't really get much sleep last night, so I kind of used this time to rest a little bit. But I mean, as I said, if you want to read the full thing, just type this in. I just go to Google Scholar, type it, and then to the right you'll see something from academia.edu. Click that and you'll get the download. We'll get into more of this. The next one's going to be a poem, and then the one after that. So about in 2 weeks. You know what? Screw it. We're going to go ahead and look at this. I need to make progress. Okay, so the Danites are Dinian. No, I changed my mind. Yeah, well, we're gonna save this for 2 weeks. I missed a lot of time. I didn't get good sleep last night. Once I get everything settled in and I get my novel out, I'm gonna try and start doing 2 more days again. Everything just gets really, really hectic when I'm editing, because editing takes, sometimes it can take more time editing my novel, I think, sometimes, than writing it itself, because I switch things up. I basically work 7 days a week when I edit, and when I'm writing my novel, I'm just doing 4 days, maybe 5 sometimes, because you need a break for creative purposes, I imagine. But editing, I just go dive right into it, and my goal is to go high creative when I write, and then to kind of ground it all in. And that's the process that I'm at right now. Things have changed in what I've done, or what I was doing before that was keeping me from doing my novel. I do have a little bit more time now, and so I'm incorporating that. Another thing that's going to be going on is I'm going to be having some merchandise here soon. Me and another person from X are working together on that. So hopefully that'll be out soon. It's first going to begin on X. I'll kind of advertise it on here, and I'm hoping next month maybe there's an Etsy or something like that I can advertise a little bit more easier. But we'll see how time goes. And I'm gonna also, anybody who's, another thing that I have that I'm wanting to do is, I do like doing this long research format, because I go over all my research, typically. Because sometimes things don't stay in my mind, and that's why I do the shorts. It kind of helps me through the process to remember things. So the long research that I'm doing right now, I'm going to be keeping, but I do want to start doing better videos and highlight certain things and show how things are combining together. So I'm going to kind of like, on X, and I'll probably advertise it on here, I'm going to open a link, and if anybody would like to donate any money, that would be cool. Hopefully that'll be coming sometime this week, because that'll help get the process going, because that's a whole different pickle to do, and I'm new in that area, and I need like a better microphone. I need, I don't know. I don't think I need any software, but I just need to buy time in order to do a lot of understanding. I might need software. I don't know. But I'm trying to put forth better videos. And if anybody wants to help out in that instance, and helping me achieve that goal, and getting better stuff in order to make those videos, and also the time to do the research necessary to provide that, I would appreciate it. And don't do anything that's going to put you in trouble, though. But so in a way, I'm looking for little investors. I'm not like saying you gotta like give me $1,000 or anything like that. Um, but it's just something I'd like to do is just to provide better material. I do like doing the long research format, and I know a lot of people don't like that because I pause and I read. Um, but that's just me opening up and going straight into it. And I also want to show evidence of where everything's coming from so that you can get it. And a lot of what I do on here will end up in those better done videos, just more precise quotes or summaries, and it'll get through the information a lot better and stuff like that. I do this mostly for me because it helps me sink things in and understand things a lot better. And then, like I said, plus I want to show you where I'm getting my research, and you know, just to put it out there. But in that, I'm gonna go ahead and let you guys go. I think this was pretty good for today, and like I said, I'll come back to this in 2 weeks. We'll be on number 4. Alright, because I gotta edit a book. So, I'll see you next week with a poem. And this has been a Jester production about the tribe of Dan, possibly being the Spartans.